Well, hello, my name is Jerry Tachoir, and I'm the chairman of the Pedagogy Committee for the Vibraphone Project. So anyway, the Vibraphone Project is designed to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the Vibraphone. And so I'm here today with a man who should be totally involved with this, since he's been around probably for almost the whole time that the Vibraphone was invented. And
You're right.
that's Mr. Terry Gibbs. Terry, welcome. It's a pleasure to get to meet you on this high technology Zoom conference.
And it's pretty wild how you meet people today. By the way, they invented the vibraphone 4 years before I was born.
I know. So
That's terrible.
That leads me to my very first question. So
But, when Jerry, go ahead.
When you started playing vibraphone, why? Who? I mean, there wasn't even nobody was playing it. Why did you start?
Well, my brother played xylophone. He was a legitimate xylophone player, and he was a good one. He played in weddings, and my whole family escaped from Russia before I was born, and they brought that music over with them, that Hasidic Jewish music that being played by young kids. They don't know what they're doing. It's like young jazz players trying to play like Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and really they have to have a book to learn the songs. These people had no books at all, but my brother played the heck out of xylophones. And so when I was a young kid, I was very much into sports. When I wasn't in the street, but fighting somebody or playing baseball, football, I would sneak it upstairs where the xylophones were, and I started to fool with them, and that got me into playing.
Okay, so then when you discovered the vibraphone, when it started to emerge, I guess, would you grab one and liked it or what?
Well, to start with, believe it or not, we legitimately trained xylophone player. I played classical music. In fact, there's a video. I mean, it's not a video. It's an audio thing that I put on Facebook a while back of me winning the Major Bowes Amateur Hour playing Chadash by Monte. I was 12 years old when I won the contest. I was a sort of a child prodigy. And I played classical. I had all that technique. But my idols in jazz were Roy Eldridge and Lester Young and Joe Jones when I played drums, and Buddy Rich, of course. And I just needed more than Lester Young and Roy Eldridge. So I went, to make it a long story short, I got thrown out of school for hitting a teacher, which made a lot of sense. And I went on the road playing drums. Then when I went in the Army, I got put into they had an audition for a band after I was a tank driver for a while. In the Army, World War II, they don't tell you what they're going to do with you. I was a tank driver for a few months. Then I got sent to Dallas, Texas, to take an audition for a band that was making Army movie pictures and doing bond drives. And I was playing drums with a 38-piece orchestra. And I grew up with a guy called Tiny Khan, who would be known by, he died when he was 28 because, 29, guys like Mel Lewis picked up his style of drumming, which Jeff Hamilton plays now. He started a style of drumming that was like picked up by these guys. And so I played drums, and I came home on furlough because he couldn't go in because he weighed about 300 pounds. And he told me there's a new music called bebop. And that's me like saying to Jerry, to you, I got a new music out here called Rackasmoogadooga. But the word bebop was the most foreign word I ever heard in my life.
Sure.
So he took me down to hear Bird and Diz. And I literally had a little breakdown, seriously. In fact, there used to be a movie called Shangri-La. Shangri-La was when you're going to heaven, probably,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, hearing those two people, I found Shangri-La, the thing I was looking for in my life.
Wow.
Because I had the technique to do what they were doing, but I didn't know that they were doing.
Yeah.
Charlie Parker was like the George Gershwin. Everything he played, was a melody. So you had but Dizzy Gillespie, I can catch on to easier because as a drummer, Dizzy played rhythms. He played. If you took away the notes from Dizzy, you'd hear bop 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 bop. He articulated and accented things, so it was easy for me to learn by Charlie Park and all eventually Bud Powell, then Charlie Park, of course.
Right.
And so that's what got me into really playing vibes most of the time.
So you left being a drummer and then you
Yeah.
picked up the vibraphone.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of
But
the
I just hired good drummers. I knew what a good drummer was.
yeah, well, I started out as a drummer myself, and I realized real quickly that I need to play melodies and harmonies, and I got into that. You
Well,
know,
Jerry, I don't want to, when I was, so before I was thrown out of school, I was offered the scholarship. I was going to get a scholarship to Juilliard as a snare drum and timpanist. I was really a real good timpanist. I used to add parts to the symphonies we played because I never thought that timpani had enough parts. When it got exciting, you should have timpanis making roll. So I add till I get caught by the teacher. But
So-
anyhow, I stopped playing drum and became a vibe player.
if I may interrupt, so you did study then, right? You went.
Oh,
You
I
said
studied classically, yes.
classical. Okay, so vibistically, since we are the Vibes Project,
Yes.
who are your maybe influences for vibes for playing the vibraphone?
It's a really terrible, but the Lionel Hampton, Red Norval were the only two players around, and they were good players, both of them, but horn players. Like I said, Roy Eldred and Les Young and Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and Bud Powell became my big influences.
Okay, it's funny that you said that because when I was at Berkeley, I did a concert one time and somebody came up to me. I was studying with Gary Burton, and somebody came up to me afterwards and they meant it as a compliment, but they said, "Man, you guys sound exactly like the Gary Burton band." And I went, "Yeah, that's right." And at that point, I quit listening to vibraphone players because I didn't want to sound like another vibraphone player. But I used to listen to Bill Evans, piano player, Chick Corea, Keith Jarrett, all the great piano players to try to
Well,
pick up a
I
stick.
think it's easier to get the start with piano because piano players and vibe players have something in common. They don't have to breathe. You can play like 8, 10 bars, 15 bars in a row without taking a breath. By the way, I just want to mention one thing to digress. I spoke to Gary Burton about a month ago. I talk to Gary about every few months.
Okay.
I've known Gary since he's been 19 years old. When I was on the Regis conducting a television show, the Regis Philbin show, and he appeared on the show with Stan Getz. He was
Right.
about 19 years old then. This is 1964, Jerry, before everybody was born.
Hey, okay, I was early. 55 is when I was born.
Well, then you're an old man.
So one of the other questions that I have from somebody on the board. So what makes Terry Gibbs different from your contemporaries? Like obviously at that time it was Red Norvo and Lionel Hampton. What makes Terry Gibbs different?
I'm a bebop player. I will be a bebop player my whole life. Whatever I'm 96 now, I think bebop. I hear bebop. When I write songs, I write because you know what the beboppers used to do. We used to steal. Well, before I became it, they would steal the chord changes. I got rhythm.
Right.
How high the moon, and we write our own songs with their chord changes. So
Right.
I'm a chord change freak. I've written over 200 compositions in my life, and I've had some there's records by Cannibal Adderley with strings, and Nat Cole recorded some of Les Brown, Buddy DeFranco, a whole bunch. I've never pushed my songs, Jerry. It's people who heard my songs. I wrote the songs for me because for my quartet,
Right.
I recorded myself. So I've recorded about 200 some odd compositions and have about 15 or 20 records by other people on my songs.
Awesome. Well, I know that you were the band director on, was it the Steve Allen show?
The Steve Allen show for pretty close to 17 years.
Okay, now I think you're probably the first vibraphone player ever to be in a position like that. Because nowadays they always hire either a keyboard player or a horn player, but
Yeah.
like vibraphone, what is that? That's that weird instrument. How would you get a gig like that?
Well, because we do variety shows when we play jazz. We're doing a show, and practically all the shows I did were variety shows. Of course, you had other acts come on the show. I'll tell you, it's a while. With the Steve Allen show used to be a sextet, and everything was ad lib. With Steve, he had everything coming off the top. He was a wit. Everything came off the top of his head. Then we started to do scripted shows, and so I figured I better go study conducting now, because you never know who you're going to get. And luckily, I went and I studied with a symphony conductor. I get scores, and I conduct with the music, with the score, you know, practicing. And fortunately, the first show we did, we had an opera singer who was a young kid. Usually when you have somebody who sings rubato, they sing it the same way all the time. We rehearse 8 times a day, the same song. He never phrased it the same way. So I had to follow him like a piano player would follow a singer most of the time. But singers sing it the same way most of the time. It was a thing that was a challenge to me, to follow an opera singer who never sang the same way each time.
Yeah.
And the best compliment I ever got after we did the show, after rehearsing all week, we did the show, and once again on the show, he sang it different, with Ray Brown, who played my band. Ray Brown, the great bass player, came over and said to me, "Great," put his thumbs up, "Great." And that knocked me out, because I had a lot of respect for Ray.
Wow, that was a big time, man, to be able to have a gig like that for that long, and it's a
Oh, yeah,
great.
all my shows, the Regis Philby show only lasted 20 weeks. With Steve Allen, with 17 years on and off, we played nightclubs also. We played Vegas, Lake Tahoe. We did television. You know, we did all kinds of things.
That's great exposure for you and the vibraphone. I mean, you were probably seen by more people around the world than Lionel Hampton, and Lionel Hampton sort of gets that reputation of being like the father of the vibraphone. You know, I don't know why.
Well, you got to understand that he was the only vibe player. Red Norvo was known by jazz people, with Lionel Hampton was a household name.
Yeah.
You know, when people used to ask me as a kid, what I said, I'm a musician. They said, "What do you play?" I said, "The vibraphone." They say, "What's that?" I say, "That's what Lionel Hampton plays." "Oh, yeah." And they say the xylophones, you know.
I do the same
he
thing.
really made that instrument really that famous.
I do
And some of those records that he and Benny Goodman and Gene Krupa and Teddy Wilson made are classic swing albums. Boy, they just swing from here to Pittsburgh, you know.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a couple more questions here.
Go ahead.
So when you started out, were you predominantly a 2 mallet player, a 4 mallet player? What did you do?
I play 4 mallets. If I'd accompany somebody on a ballad, I play. I'm a 2 mallet player because I cannot get the articulation out, and I can't understand most 4 mallet players who play with 4 mallets. Then when they play a solo, they play with 2 mallets anyhow.
Yeah.
And you can't get that hard bebop. I don't think playing bebop, that music that calls for those accents, and that you can get that articulation out holding 4 as you can with 2. I tried, but I couldn't do it. So I played. I'm a 2 mallet player. I'm a melody player. I want to make up melodies when I play. I write, like Charlie Parker. You could take every chorus that he played, write a lyric to it if you slow it down. I'm no Charlie Parker, but I try to play melodic things, and I have to have 2 mallets to do it. 4 mallets is not going to get my melodies out.
I understand. Okay, so what instrument did you play when you first started out? Was it a Deegan instrument, or?
Yeah, I think my brother may have had a leady, but in 1950, Louie Bellson and Charlie Shaver, trumpet, and I had a band, and Louie Belson's brother said, "You know something, I'm going to get you an endorsement," and they got me with Deegan immediately, and I became their #1 person for years. I was on their catalog, and I developed mallets, and I developed systems. I started a few things for them. Are you familiar? Wait, of course you're familiar. You know, on the slats of the bar, at the slats where the bars lay, there's always like a little hook that goes around the cord.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like that. So I had them put like these on the front and back, because it gives the bar more life.
Okay.
I wanted life out of the bar when I hit it, because I don't hold my foot down on a pedal on every note, because when I play a lot of notes, they'll run into each other.
Yeah.
So I just use the pedal when necessary to hold the note. I deaden it. What I do is I deaden the note. No matter how many notes I'm playing, if I'm going to hold the note, the last note, I will deaden that note before that.
Well, to be honest with you, that may have been a thing with the Deegan instruments, because I remember when I first started out, And I've always been a Musser artist. I always
By the
loved
way, you know,
Musser.
Musser was the guy who started Deegan. You know, he's
Right,
the guy.
exactly. But I noticed that the Deegan vibraphones, I had to hit them harder to get the bigger, warmer sound, whereas the Musser bars seem to, they just work better for me. I
Well,
don't know
now,
why.
now I'm going to tell you what I get that question asked 4 million times by everybody. Yeah, every question you ask, all you have to do is use a different mallet on the Deegan bar. The Deegan bar has more, for me, has more life. It's. Wait, do you get a lot of calls that say unavailable on your phone?
Every day, like 10 a day.
I get. Well, this is one of my fourth one today.
Just pick it up and hang up. They'll
Yeah,
go away.
that's you're right. I don't even bother with it, but I should do that now. But anyhow, if I want to play a ballad, I'll use a softer mallet.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm a bebop player, which means
Okay.
playing hard swing. And the Deegan bar gives me, you know, the Yamaha bar is the closest to a Deegan bar that I know. You know, the wildest thing, I have 5 Deegan sets. Well, I've given my son one. I have 2 of the big one, the Auroras, 2 Commanders. They gave me everything that I wanted. And maybe about 8 or 10 years ago, Yamaha called me and they said they'd like me to endorse their instrument. And this time, Deegan was out of business by that time.
Right.
So they flew me into, I think, Indianapolis, where it was, the factory was. And I met with them. I said, listen, I've traveled the whole world where I stopped taking my vibes because it was the biggest hang up schlepping 4 big cases of vibes, setting them up myself. I said, and they supply me with instruments all over the place. And I get some cockamamie instruments are the worst to play on. I said, if you supply me with an instrument, everywhere I go and give me an instrument, I'll go with you. They said, okay, we'll do that. And the wildest thing is, I had to play with the Percussive Art Society. I had to do a concert with the Navy Band and percussive for the Percussive Art Society out here in one of the ballrooms here. And so they flew in, Yamaha was going to fly me to set in. They were going to fly me to Japan with the specifications I wanted. I told you with the slats that have V's that go V's. I wanted certain things with my bar and certain things that I had my Deegan set that they made for me. And they flew it in. And then by the way, the Deegan set has more screws on it. That's not necessary. You have to, everything holding together. I never have taken it apart. But anyhow, they came to my house when they were going to get me my instrument, flying in from Japan. They were going to come out to the ballroom and set up, and I was going to play. They came out to my house. They saw my beautiful Deegan set, and I said, "What do you want a Deegan set for your best set?" Because they own Deegan, by the way.
Right. Exactly.
What do you? When you got a Deegan, what do you want? I said, because you're going to give me a set everywhere I go. That's why.
Right.
You're going to supply me with one.
Yeah.
Jerry, can I tell you a funny story about you travel, right? By that question, do you take your vibes with you?
Most of the time I do. A lot of times if I do college dates, I'll try to see if they have a good instrument for me. But usually,
I'm talking about foreign countries.
Yeah, I used to prior to 9/11. 9/11 made it extremely.
Oh, I stopped taking my ride, but I want to tell you a wild story. I was playing in I forget, somewhere in Germany, I think it was. And Buddy DeFranco and I playing together. And sometimes you just get there in time. I usually see the vibe set first, and I make a few runs and see what it is. And I adjust whatever instrument they give me to where I can feel comfortable. And I didn't get a chance. We just got there. Buddy and I just flew in for wherever it was, had to go on stage, checked in and went on stage, and the vibes were there. And I start playing, and every note ran into each other, Jerry. And I looked, I was going to fix it, and the thing that holds the tamper bar together,
Yeah.
it was a piece of cotton string that you sew a button on with. It was hanging like this. I figured, I better not touch it or the whole thing will fall apart. I wasn't sure what the hell they gave me. And so every note rang into each other. I never felt sick or my place. Anyhow, we got standing ovation. I thought they were crazy. And here's the wildest thing that is thing. About 6 months later, Buddy DeFranco told me he went back to that same town, and some young kid came over to him and said, "Mr. DeFranco, I would like you to please deliver a message to Mr. Gibbs, please. Tell him I enjoyed his performance and I vibed so much that I bought that set of vibes."
Oh,
This
no.
guy had to be a complete maniac who escaped from some asylum or has completely no ears and likes to hear every note going into each other, sounding like a Phil Spector's wall of sound, where you don't hear any instruments.
I played an instrument one time that the frame was leaning like this, and there was a chair at the end of it. So I went to move the chair away, and the guy goes, "Oh, no, don't move the chair, don't move the chair. It's holding the vibes up." And I mean, yeah, that's the nature of the instrument. They're so
That's
beat
why
up.
I signed with Yamaha, because at least I got you know what was the hardest thing for me to do to play a muscle or a Yamaha is I wasn't used to those wide bars.
Oh, okay,
To
yeah.
do it the digging, which didn't hurt my technique much, but I couldn't hit it in the middle of the bar. See, I play because the way I play, Jerry, playing a lot of notes, I play very close to the ends of the bar when I make my runs.
Gotcha.
Because my technique is much faster. And I also have a finger system, and my mallets are cut 7.5 inches long.
Okay.
You know how you play drums, how you play with your right hand finger system? Well, I do that with both hands. My left hand is equally as good as my right hand.
Okay.
I'm ambidextrous with that, with using both hands. Okay.
Now you say you're with Yamaha. Have you ever played any of their extended range instruments down to C?
Well, I'll tell you, once I did a clinic for them at a place where they had at one of the what do you call those? Where they have all the instrument companies.
Oh yeah, the NAMM festival.
Yeah, the NAMM festival. I played in one room. They sent the vibes it up there, and it was 4.5 octaves, 3.5. Yeah, three and a half.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to seeing that, that bottom note because I look at the vibe, but I don't think whatever I hear, I try to play. And so I played my first song, and I was screwing up. So I told her, wait a minute, give me some books over there over there, give me the books. And I put the books from the F down to the C, and I left it there, and
the notes.
I couldn't play any other way,
See, that's been my pet peeve. I've been after the Musser Company for 35 years to finish the instrument. F to F is a horrible range. The world of F. At least give me an E at the bottom. But EDC is like the perfect instrument. And I've been after them for 35 years. And
they don't make a 3.5 inch octave instrument.
Apparently they can't figure out the tuning. If you listen to any of the extended range instruments now, you'll hear the bottom 3 notes aren't quite right. You don't hear the fundamental. You hear a harmonic, and it's not great. So,
what's wild with Yamaha? The guy who runs the whole Deegan, the whole Yamaha mallet company in Japan is a big fan of mine. When I played Japan, he came and set up the vibes for me. Yamaha, every place I played, he would come and speak. The CEO of Yamaha is setting up my vibes for me in Japan. And so they made and what was throwing me also was the long bars. The deep bars, not that long. So they made a set of bars, which I never got a chance to get because of the pandemic thing and everything. Not even that, but I was at a point where I was going to retire anyhow. Yeah. Terry, I spent 80 years as a professional. I was on the road since I've been 12 years old traveling. And that's a lot of years to be on the road.
And congratulations for that too. That's an amazing accomplishment.
That cliche, music is my life. I still hear music. I did my last album called 92 Years Young. And that after that, wherever the mallet lays on the vibes, they're covered up for 5 years. They have not been touched. What I did, believe it or not, DW, the guy who owns DW, Don used to study. I used to have a music store, and he studied there. And do you know the name Freddie Gruber?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Freddie helped him get the Camco pedal, which started a company for Don. He bought the Camco pedal. So Don started my store. So when I told Don I was just quitting playing vibes, I just love to play some drums. So I'm going to make a drum set. So my son Jerry, who's a DW endorser, he's got about 8 sets that Don gave him, smaller bass drum, littler bass drum,
Yeah.
And so he made me that drum set, and I would go in. I was getting my chops back. Because I had a scholarship as a snare drummer. If I could make a good roll, then I figured I got it made,
Yeah.
And so I got my chops, and I go in for maybe a half hour a day. And this is when I was in my 90s already. And what I do is I play ding, 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 and I sing a melody of a song. Then I would sing in my head. I would sing a chorus or two, and I play time. Then I sing 8 bars and play 8 bars in drums. I played in 4s, and then I make a big band up. And I was doing that, and one day, it's about almost like 6, 7, 8 months ago, I got rambunctious. I really was twisting, and I put my back out of shape. I had to go to my chiropractor, and I haven't touched the drums since. Now I'm afraid.
Oh, hey, I got to ask you a few more questions because I got these. We're running out of time. So who do you listen to now, or have you listened to music lately, and maybe who, besides my records?
Well, I'll tell you, my son is doing just finished 3/4 of a CD. He's doing 18 of my songs with 4 of the best piano players, 4 of the best players, I'll name their names, playing my songs. He recorded Chick Corea and Ron Carter together doing 5 songs. And Chick Corea, I gave Chick his first, I want to get the whole story.
Yeah.
I gave Chick his first job when he was young 20s. And so besides doing my songs, he told my son, the only way I'll do it is I got to write a song for your dad. So he wrote.
And I've got to interrupt you. God bless Chick Corea. I can't believe he passed recently. This tore me up like you can't imagine.
We were in touch. He kept calling me, you know Chick well, okay. He would call. He'd call me and tell me what he's going to do with my song. Then play me Chopin. Then play me Bartok. He'd do a half-hour concert while telling me the story. But anyhow, he recorded 5 songs. Kenny Barron with Buster Carter recorded 5 songs. Jeff Keezer and Chris McBride recorded 5 songs. And now Jerry's coming out here in April to record Patrice Rushen on piano and Stanley Clark on bass, and that'll finish the album.
But who do you listen to other than your own music and your son's music?
I listen to good guys like Barry Harris, Bill Evans. I like. I'm a bebop freak. I still listen to Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
Of young kids, I had. Let me see. Trump played the 2 of them. Roy Hargrove recorded my son. He played good. I like him. Yeah. I like good melodic players and guys. You know what I always tell the kids who come to study or ask me the question? Don't play the instrument. Play the song. Yeah. Don't show me you have technique unless you record this thing and sing it back to me.
Exactly.
So I listen to guys who play melodic. I used to like Freddie Hubbard. Yeah. He's not around anymore, of course, but I still listen to the older guys because.
Okay. So one other question that I have that somebody brought up and they wanted to know. So back in your day when you were getting ready to do a performance or concert, television show, whatever, did you have any kind of a warm-up routine? Anything that you did to get your hands ready?
No, I had freak chops anyhow. I cannot play. One time I was on a terrible automobile accident. I was out 9 weeks. They thought I'd never play. My right arm was paralyzed. Within a week or two, after 9 weeks of being out, got myself in shape about a week or two, and I went and started working again on the road. Yeah. It's getting my musical mind together after not playing for a while. No, but see, when I was playing, we were playing clubs, Jerry, and I played 5 or 6 nights a week, 5 sets a night. So how much more practicing do I need than
I
that?
was gonna say, you're constantly warmed up,
I
exactly.
was playing all the time. I was playing, you know, Frank DeVito, who played drums with me, put our itinerary on Facebook of one of the 4 years he was with me. And then you'll see 51 weeks of a year going, finishing on the 2nd in Pittsburgh, opening the 3rd in Ohio, finishing on the 24th, and then whatever, then opening up on the 25th. So we would drive, maybe have enough time to check in. If not, music. You see, music for us, we were young kids, music was our life. All we wanted to do was play. We didn't care about traveling 500 miles. We didn't care about not sleeping. So
Yeah.
long as we can get on stage. And when we got on stage, we would dress nicely with suit and ties. I
Exactly.
still think I'd like to see musicians dress better when they play.
I feel the same way. You're on stage. People pay big money to see you play the part. You don't walk out in jeans and a t-shirt
Well,
that you
there's a
got
certain
on.
class. Yeah, there's a certain class missing with yourself.
Exactly. Now let me tell you, Terry. So you grew up and
Yes.
you started your career in the heyday of music when there was music everywhere.
The most blessed person, really, 52nd Street had 8 or 9 clubs on each side on one street.
Right. Now today there's like no clubs, there's no places to play.
No jam sessions.
You
to
can't
learn.
sell music, you can't give music away. Everybody steals it off of the internet. Nobody buys CDs or recordings. It's a different time. It really is.
I really feel sorry for the young, any entertainers in the entertainment business today when everything gets better. I know that if I was still alive in a year from now, I'm not going to go to the movies and sit next to somebody. I'm not going to go to a jazz club and sit next to somebody. And getting on stage, of course, I'll have my own people. I've been a band leader all my life, so I'll be a band leader. But
Yeah.
I'm not playing anyhow, you know.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
I feel sorry for the young kids today.
yeah, I do too. I have a student who just graduated college, and he's graduated right when this COVID thing hit. And he come to one of my lessons and he says, man, he's like in tears. He goes, I don't know what to do. I said, I got debt. I got to pay college bills. I have no job. There's no clubs open. There's no music being played. What do I do? And I says, man, get in line. That's right now.
It's really it's not just here. The whole world is going through this thing. This
Exactly.
is like a swine flu a disease, where
Horrible.
how many people died already?
Yeah.
By the way, have you gotten your shot yet?
Got my first one, getting the second one in 10 more days.
I did too. I got my first one. Which
All
one
right.
did you get?
I got the Moderna.
I got that too.
I mean, I feel really good, except I grew a 6th toe, but it's good because on the vibes it helps for stability,
Well, I got another ear. It's in the back of my head, which you can't see.
Oh well, that could be helpful.
Well, it's good to hear behind your head, And so when you're playing vibes and you're in front of the band, you can hear what they do in the back of you.
Yeah. Well, hey Terry, we're like way out of time in terms of this interview for this project, and I just want to say thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
That'd be great. Yeah, Jerry, I've known about you for years. I see your name all over the place. It's nice seeing your face, even though you're ugly. It's nice. It's nice seeing your face, Jerry. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. Besides playing, you're teaching,
Yeah.
which is very important. A good vibe teacher who's jazz orientated and classically oriented, who knows the instrument and knows both sides, the whole realm of the music is very important with young people.
I feel the same way, and thank you for saying that. And again, hopefully this thing will calm down and we can get back to having some music again. And I look forward to it. So I'm gonna
zoom me again, Jerry. We'll do it again. It's fun.
Well, stay on the line. I'm going to talk to you some more. I'm just going to stop the recording.